Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Get Crystallized Show. And this series that I'm really excited and passionate about. One, because I have my beautiful co-host, Coach Janae, with me. But this series, if you are popping in for the very first time, is called Road to Pro. And the reason why this series is called Road to Pro is because Coach Janae and myself are competing in a fitness competition on November 11th at the pro level. And this is where, we wanted to have you kind of tag along on our journey. We're sharing our personal, tricks and tips and how, we both mindset, fitness, and nutrition, and how we deal with all of the ups and downs of prepping for a show. And also, even if you're not preparing for a fitness competition, we want to share as well practical tools and tips for those of you that just want to release weight. And maybe your version of a competition stage is wearing a bikini for the first time on a beach. Maybe it is wearing a beautiful dress that has been sitting in your closet for years and you don't want to let it go because you know that you're going to be able to fit into it one day. So your version of a fitness competition can mean a variety of things. And over the last couple of episodes, last week we talked all about sleep, the importance of sleep, and especially for all of my women over 40 who are experiencing the menopause transition, we shared a lot of supplements and things to do to help you sleep well, stay asleep. And so if you missed that episode, make sure you check that out. The Get Crystallized Show is available both on Apple and on Spotify for all of my ladies that are watching inside our Facebook group. So because we're talking about preparing for a fitness competition, Coach Janae and I thought, why don't we talk about the different divisions in the actual fitness competition? Because so many of you might not even be aware. When you think fitness competition, there are quite a few divisions for women. And so within the R3 team, I've been training women over 40 to compete since 2020. Looking back at all of our team members, we pretty much have at least one, or between Coach Janae and I, we've competed in at least 3 to 5 different categories. And some of our women that I will be sharing their picture, we've covered almost all of them except one. And so I'm really excited to deep dive into the different divisions. And also, if you're listening to this or watching this live, you might actually, see or hear of a division and think, I think I can do that. And it might create a little bit of a fire burning and thinking, maybe if I give myself 6 months, a year, 2 years, however, I could see myself doing that. And so, Coach Janae, I really wanted to just break down each category. And we're going to start off with transformation. So if you wanted to kind of touch upon a little bit of that, and I'll show one of our past athletes' pictures so that you girls that are watching this live can take a look at what that looks like.
Yes. So the transformation category, I think, is an opportunity. Like if you think that, oh, there's no way I'm ready for that, or there's no way I could do that, like this might be a great place to start, especially if there is, like, you have like a really high weight loss kind of goal in mind, right? This might be like that spurring moment to kind of get you extra excited about it. And to really kind of share your journey along the way. Transformation is really just as it sounds, like a transformation, right? So a dramatic shift in either like muscle gain or like just body composition, right? So showcasing those changes that you made. So it's not just like weight loss. Again, like putting on some lean muscle mass and like having that confidence when you're walking across the stage. So when it comes to judging, it's really like the big thing is the physical transformation and the inner transformation. And the inner transformation is a little bit more about, you get to have that opportunity where you can, speak to the changes that you've made, or the lifestyle changes, or maybe like, some event happened in your life that either set you back or you had to overcome and push through. So it's celebrating some of the challenges that we all face, and what you had to do, or maybe the work involved to kind of get through and push through and show up that day on stage. This is the work that you had to do. So not just that physical component, but that inner component as well, right? So it's you're scored on both of that, and then of course your overall presentation. So what is so fun about a lot of these categories is you'll hear the presentation component is pretty common amongst them all. And when it comes to that presentation, it's, like what you're wearing, your tan, the accessories, the attitude that you bring, right? So you get to showcase a lot more of your personality and have that shine through and come through on stage, regardless of your of the category that you're participating in. But with transformation overall, think about both the outer and inner transformation and getting to showcase and speak to both elements.
I love it. And this is Keandria. She's actually one of our accountability coaches. She's one of our fitness coaches inside our program. Still a member. She's still going through her own journey. But last year, enrolled in the transformation category, she released 65 pounds. And Coach Key will admit that she is an introvert who is really shy. So to step onto a fitness competition stage, and as you can see, we basically designed her costume. You can wear whatever you want on that stage, so as long as it kind of shows your hard work. And so we decided to kind of get some inspiration, and literally she had someone from her hometown design her beautiful costume. And for her to the beautiful thing about transformation as well is, at least with the Ultimate Fitness events, which is the organization we compete with, they have the before picture on a big screen. So you'll see, they showcase what Keandria looked like before, 65 pounds heavier. And then she walks out strutting her stuff, wearing this beautiful pink costume and just feeling like $1,000,000. It was something awesome to witness. And we felt proud, and she felt proud, and her family, it was amazing for someone in the transformation category to really showcase your hard work, releasing 65 pounds and keeping it off and stepping onto that stage when you never in your life ever thought you would do something like that, was really a sight to see. So if you are not necessarily wanting to maybe wear a two-piece bikini, like Coach Janae mentioned, maybe you have a lot of weight that you want to release, and you really want to push yourself and share your transformation story, then the transformation category might be a really great way to kind of dip your toe in the water, as we say, right? Yeah. So another team member of ours, an athlete of ours, Myra, she also did the transformation category, and she is working her way to now do bikini. So Coach Janae, what is the bikini category all about? And you have been competing in that category every year. So I'd love for you to share what the next one now, and also the way that we're sharing these divisions is also defines the amount of muscularity each phase has to include. So transformation, you don't have to be muscular. It's more of, releasing that body fat. And then, with each category, you have to put on just a little bit more muscle, a little bit more muscle, a little bit more muscle. So I'd love for you to describe bikini.
So bikini is really showcasing that fit physique in a very like sexy, sassy kind of way, right? So this is really where that attitude starts to come in a lot. It's a lot more, vocal, right? It's a little bit more vibrant, right? You should be able to see a lot of that personality come shining through with bikini. So there is a certain amount of conditioning that's needed, right, in terms of leanness, but you're not crazy lean, right? So there you want to see some muscle development, but you also want to see some very full muscles, and a little bit more importantly, like the glutes, shoulders are very important. The back, the look of the back. And of course, when it comes to judging, very similarly, when it comes to the physical component, you're judged on conditioning, but also the musculature, right? So you don't need to be too muscly or like muscle development, right? And you need to have a nice symmetry, a nice symmetrical look. The confidence and presentation is a big component. So having that sass really kind of come through in bikini is very, very important. And all of these things are kind of weighed equally amongst it, right? So when it comes to your conditioning and your musculature, your attractiveness, your confidence, your presentation, they're all weighted about the same. So having that presentation skill when you're coming on stage, your routine, right, and having that attitude and that sassiness kind of shine through, that will spike up your score, right? So you need to just kind of have that well conditioned. And I like to think of bikini as that first, like the introductory category into a fitness competition, because you don't have to be like next level lean or have like years and years of muscle development. So if you're kind of new to really trimming down and putting on a little bit more muscle, bikini is a great place to start. It is a highly competitive category, but that's great because that makes you work a little bit harder, right? You know that everyone is bringing their A game, so you got to bring it too, right? And that's part of that sass and part of that that attitude when you come on stage.
Yes. And, I started, when I first started competing, I did do bikini. And like Coach Janae said, the way that to best describe bikini is, like if you were to go to a beach and you look at a woman and you're like, wow, she works out, she's fit, right? That's the kind of look. We're not overly like crazy muscly, but she's fit. She looks good in a bikini. And that's kind of the look that they're looking for. And one of the things that, I'm also a posing coach. One of the things that I do to help, my athletes when they are learning when I teach the routine is to embody someone that best represents. So for example, when I competed in bikini, I embodied J-Lo.
Mm-hmm.
To me, her sass and the way that she owns the stage, and she's like, and I embodied her. I became that aura of J-Lo, right? So for those of you ladies that are like, oh, I'm too shy, well, then we'll find like who is that woman that represents, maybe someone who is confident, who is sassy, who is just has that presence and that attitude. And we'll pump the music when we're going through our posing sessions. I will really get you to become that character, right? So next up, Coach Janae, this is the category that I would say closely reminds me of a Victoria's Secret modeling show. and it's called Glamour. So I'd love for you to talk all about
Oh
Glamour.
yes, so Glamour is my favorite. That is I have a special love for that one because it is it's costume based, right? There's a big component, big element behind the costume. Now, I would think when you're thinking about body composition and that overall look, think very similar to bikini, right? Like they're very closely. You don't. They say you don't have to be as lean as bikini, but they're very, very close. The biggest difference is going to be the costume element when it comes to Glamour. So a big portion of your score is weighted to not just your overall costume, so like the wings or the bling on the bikini or all the accessories that you have to go with it, but how you use the costume in your posing. And it's like exactly like Coach Crystal said, it's like walking the runway, right? With a Victoria's Secret, like that angel modeling show, right? So it's all about walking that runway and owning that runway. So the posing is a little bit different. It's a little bit more freestyle, but where you hit the stages are a little bit different because it's designed and kind of set up to make you feel like you're walking a runway. So they want to see that attitude. They want to see that confidence. You got to think like next level confidence. You got to wear that costume with you got to own it. You've got to showcase if you've got big wings, like what are you doing with those wings? Or if it's a trailing veil, are you doing something with that? So they really want to see you express through the costume, not just wear the costume, right? Yes. So that is a really big component. You also get to do around with just bikini, which is why I say there's an element that's very closely related to bikini, which is very similar. So you'll have that opportunity to kind of come out in bikini, and this is really where you're showcasing your body composition and your physicalness of the actual competition, right? So how you've leaned down, your conditioning, your muscle development, all of those things. That's where that scoring will come into play, versus your costume round, where like how you're posing with the costume, how you're using the costume, and your overall confidence and stage presence are weighed more heavily in that round. So you do get 2 rounds to come on stage, whereas just bikini alone, you just have one round where you're coming out in just the bikini.
I love watching Coach Janae come out down that runway, and my goodness, she's a goddess, and I'm excited for this year. Ooh,
I've already even started planning next year's too. I love it that much.
and that's the thing. Like we have fun. We have fun. We love it. If you, that little girl in you that used to love playing dress up, and this is a beautiful opportunity to bring her out, and you get to play and you get to have fun with that costume. The costumes are really extravagant. They're very beautiful. And it really is, it is like a Victoria's Secret model runway show. It's so beautiful to watch. But if you have that little girl in you that not only wants to take her fitness to the next level, but loves to dress up and wear costumes, this might be a category for you to consider. Now, speaking of categories where you can go out twice, there is another category called fitness model. And fitness model is the way that I like to look at it is, if you were to look at a magazine like Oxygen magazine or any of fitness magazines, this is the look that they're looking for. So I'd love for you to talk about fitness model, Coach.
Yes, and fitness model, very similar to Glamour, you'll have 2 rounds. So that element that is targeted for the fitness model component, you get like a theme wear, right? So a theme wear round where it is a sports themed type of costume. So whether that is a cute little soccer gear, or maybe it's football or baseball, tennis, We've had a variety. I think we've covered, a whole gamut of sports.
All sports. All sports.
Right? Exactly. So, and just like glamour in that theme round, the posing is based off of, like how you're using your prop. So, whereas like glamour, your prop was really like your huge costume and whatnot. With fitness model, you can use a prop like a piece of sports gear, whether that's a football or a baseball bat, and how you're using it, how you're leveraging that. And just like, on the cover of a magazine, each pose is as though it were that picture perfect cover shot. So how you're posing with it, does it make sense for the sport? Does it make sense for your body type? Are you showing off your best assets, your best features, right? So you get to kind of play a little bit with that posing. It's not the stereotypical standard type fitness competition posing. You get to have a little bit more fun and use that prop. You can wear like wedged sneakers, so the one moment in the show where you have comfortable footwear. But it's a fun way too to kind of come out in theme. Again, very similar to the other categories in terms of scoring, conditioning. You want a little bit more conditioning versus glamour or bikini, and a little bit more muscle development, because it should look like you belong on the cover of a fitness magazine, right? So you got to think of that certain level of fitness and aesthetics. A very marketable look is overall. So you want to pick a sports category that is marketable. That costume should be marketable, right? So you got to think again, optimizing that front cover magazine shot, right? Like what will sell magazines? That's the theme around the theme wear. And then of course your second round, you do get a bikini round as well, where you can show off a little bit more of the physical work and the conditioning and the muscle development that you've had to work on to get to that point, to get to that level, because your costume could kind of cover up, right? So in this you can see like the shoulders are kind of covered up, the midriff is covered up a little bit, and versus the bikini round where you can kind of show off some of those areas, that helps to showcase your conditioning, your level of conditioning.
Perfect. So now we're kind of moving up when we speak of conditioning. The next category after that is fitness. Mm-hmm. And so fitness, if you'd like to talk about that and the difference between bikini and fitness already.
Yes. So with fitness, very similar, like the others, you will come out in a bikini. So it just has a one round. With fitness, the expectation in terms of muscle development is that it is a higher expectation. So you should have a little bit more muscle than like bikini. It's a little bit more overall developed, where bikini may have a little bit more focus on rounded glutes, right? And so fitness really wants to tone in on the muscle development. So we should see cuts in the muscles. That's where conditioning will start to get a little bit higher in expectation, right? So a little bit more work involved, especially during prep, during the prep component, really nailing your conditioning component of it. Presentation, as with all categories, is important, how you're hitting those poses. But what's different in fitness versus bikini when it comes to posing is with fitness, you want to be flexing a little bit harder. You want to showcase those muscles a little bit more. Whereas like bikini and glamour, they're rounded. You want to make it look like it's a relaxed pose. I mean, we're all like sucking it in and flexing so tight, but we can't make it look like that. It should look very relaxed, very rounded. And I think fitness is meant to be a little bit harder. So some of those poses will actually be doing a bicep pose so you can see the bicep, whereas in bikini you wouldn't do a bicep pose in bikini, right?
Yeah.
So that presentation component, your routine component, varies a little bit when it comes to that element. So you want to be stiffer, you want to be, flexing more, showcasing those muscles, and of course the more you're flexing, the more striations and separations in your muscle groups are showing through as well.
That's a great point, Coach Janae. With bikini, there is zero flexing. There is the sucking in of the belly, 100%.
Yes. Yes.
But when it comes to flexing, zero flexing. You really are trying to stay as relaxed as possible, even though you're sucking your belly in. But now we're moving into wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Wellness does require more muscularity on the lower half. This particular category is interesting because all categories except for wellness, we want balance. But what's different with the symmetry in wellness is you want to have you strive for a bikini upper body, but the bottom half should be a little bit bigger and it should be uneven. So that's kind of, in terms of symmetry, but there is also no flexing per se in wellness. It's very interesting because wellness posing is similar to bikini. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that in the quarter turns, there are specific quarter turns for bikini. And wellness, where in this organization that we compete with, there's a little bit more flexibility in the quarter turns in fitness model and in fitness. Okay, so the bikini quarter turns and wellness and figure are standard. Just wanted to speak about that. But if you could go into a little bit more detail about wellness and what is involved in that particular category and where the scoring is entailed.
And really with wellness too. So it's like that merging of bikini and its own little category, right? Like the bikini elements are kind of like bringing that sass through in the presentation. So they're still looking for that, but it's almost like overdevelopment of the legs and the glutes. So and we see this in social media a lot. If you're following any, like if you follow any fitness competitors or aspirational, kind of fitness people on social media, a lot of the women are always in the gym and they're pumping up their legs and their glutes. And so that wellness category is really to kind of support that the building of those particular muscle groups. So just like Coach Crystal said, the lower half, right? And the elements of bikini that you're bringing into the wellness will be the upper body component. So the shoulders, the back development, and that sass, bringing through that sass and that sexiness in your posing and in your routines. The overall scoring is very similar. So you're going to have conditioning is important, musculature, that symmetry. And when they're just like Coach Crystal said, the symmetry, they're looking for more of, again, that overdevelopment in the lower half, and then just the bikini look on the upper half, right? And then of course, other components like your overall presentation, attractiveness, your confidence, how that comes through, how that shines through.
And what's interesting is, I started with bikini, but I have to say, like, I think this comes from my dad's side. Our lower half is we've got some thick legs. And so when wellness came, because it literally started just last year with UFE, I was like, that's the category, because for those women out there whom your bottom half, like if you're bigger naturally on your bottom half, consider wellness to be your particular category. Mm-hmm. Now, the next one after this, and now we're really going to be speaking more in terms of points wise with muscularity, is figure. So this is very close to, I would say, men's kind of bodybuilding. And with figure, you're looking for that hourglass. They want to see, upper half, lower half equal in muscularity.
Mhm.
And the thing about figure is the posing is rigid. It's very stiff. Whereas wellness, which is the where I'm competing this year, I like that it has the bikini flow.
Yes.
And I have competed in figure. I did do well in figure, but it's really stiff in terms of your posing and your quarter turn. So if you wanted to go a
Mhm.
little bit deeper on
Definitely.
figure.
With figure, the expectation when it comes to conditioning is going to be next level. So this is really where it gets a little bit more competitive, especially in comparison to even like men's bodybuilding. So this is really where they're looking for mature muscle development. This is normally what like where you'll see people that have been training for years, right? They have years under their belt because they've really built up that maybe they've never competed before, but it's certainly not their first time heading to a gym and gaining that muscle development. There is a certain amount of elegance and poise that's required with fitness. I think that speaks a little bit in the very structured type of posing, but that's that expectation, and that's that different level of presentation than what you're expecting when it comes to bikini or fitness model, right? Like bikini, you think sexy and sassy, and fitness model is all about the magazine cover shot, whereas figure is elegance and poise and very, very structured. Like even the standard poses that are required to kind of score your points are all there to showcase maximum muscle development, but also to showcase the muscle separations, the striations, how the muscles round out or they sweep out from the skeletal structure. So they're looking for a lot of very fine-tuned kind of points that you would have worked through during your prep, and that kind of speaks to that. So just like all the other categories, you have your symmetry, your conditioning. They're scored slightly different because conditioning and your symmetry and your presentation are worth more versus like the presentation or the stage presence components. Whereas what we saw in bikini and all the other categories, they're almost like equally weighted amongst them all, right? So you could kind of gain some points back by having a killer presentation, right? Really nailing your routine. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't do that in all categories, but when it comes to something like figure, that the presentation is actually showcasing that poise and that the posture, and just like I even when I say it, I'm like getting myself rigid. Like that's how you have to think about it, right? Like it is very structured, very rigid, and it is very purposeful in each and every one of those poses to showcase that aesthetic look and that very much that hourglass. So they're looking for the V taper, tiny waist, like big sweeps in your back. So and again, the body composition when it comes to conditioning, this is really next level type of conditioning.
The best way that I could describe how I presented myself was I thought of myself as being regal,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
a queen, right?
Yeah.
And she has that grace and poise. And then when you hit your quarter turn pose, or because a lot of the times your posing routine will have the quarter turns, you are flexing like crazy, but you have to still maintain that poise and that queen like kind of character or attitude
Mm-hmm.
while flexing, while smiling,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a very, very challenging category.
Yes.
And like Coach Janae said, I've been training hard, for the past, since, let me see, I am turning 45 years young. I would say since I was 25. So how many years is that? That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
So you don't jump into figure if you're brand new. You know, that's not the category that you jump into. But if you have, you know, good 10 years under your belt, if you, you know, are not new to lifting heavy and you have a good amount of muscle on your frame and you want to take that your fitness to the next level and you would like to, you know, have a taste. And one thing that is also different that I wanted to point out is you're not in a two-piece. So there's connectors in the back of my suit right now that's showing. So that's another different aspect of figure. It's the only category, this and physique, which we're going to talk about next, where you're not actually wearing a two-piece. Yeah. So for those of you that are listening or watching this live, if you're not new and, you know, to working out, if you have that level of muscularity already, if you, you know, are thinking about, and you really are passionate about bodybuilding and lifting really heavy, and this might be the category for you. But it's definitely not something that you jump into if you're brand new to the fitness competition world. So in my team, you know, I once upon a time, I thought to myself, by the time I'm 50, I want to compete in physique. So that's still 5 years away. That gives me, and the reason why I am practical is because physique requires the most amount of muscle.
Yes.
And so I'm going to share a friend of mine who has competed in physique. But it does require, again, that next level of muscularity if you want to win. Yes. So I'd love for you to talk about, and this is the last category with the women's division.
So with physique, similar to some of the other categories, there are multiple rounds. So yes, there is a round where it'll kind of be judged on symmetry, and you'll have the mandatory posing. So the mandatory posing are going to be kind of like the typical bodybuilding type of posing, you know, like double bicep, most muscular, you know, when you think, you know, the quad, flexing your quads, showcasing those. So that is, those are those mandatory poses that will come into play. But physique is designed to kind of showcase the bodybuilding aspects, so that mature muscular and maybe women with a little bit more muscle mass, but also being able to showcase that you can maintain your femininity and the beauty associated with this level of competition. So there is a certain element of, because a lot of people will have that preset notion of, you know, bodybuilding is just for guys, or, you know, you'll end up looking too much like a guy if you do this. But there is a lot of focus on maintaining that femininity. So there is, and that is counted. That is, you know, like part of the scoring component is that overall symmetry and that overall look. But also you do have a round where it's more of a like a bodybuilding routine that you would kind of see in like Olympia, right, with the music, and you can kind of play with it and do you know, create a routine, a choreographed routine that you would do to music. Obviously showcasing and trying to hit on those main poses that showcase the muscle groups, the muscle development, how much work you put into. Again, it will be more conditioning than the other categories. So you're relying on that posing to showcase your best features and the best components of what you worked on, right? Like if you are most proud of your back, then that routine is where you're going to try to throw in as many back poses as possible to showcase, you know, how ripped your back is, or how much muscle development, how much conditioning you've been able to kind of put in. So that you do get like both those rounds, and the symmetry round, of course, includes the quarter turns that you do with the other competitors as well. Those are the more structured, more formalized, very, very similar to figure, right? So you do have that element as well. And then of course, like your standard routine where you come out and do your posing routine as well.
Perfect. And that is the category that is going to take me 5 years to compete in, because so, I've literally competed in every single category, every single one except physique. And for me personally, I wanted to see, well, which category, number one, do I like? Which category do I like training for? Which category makes sense with my body structure? Because naturally, some women will be better suited for bikini or be better suited for physique. I find that women who have longer torsos do well in bikini. And you'll notice that the physique girls are petite and really jacked, right? And and also I wanted to have firsthand experience with the posing so that I can teach others, because I'm very much like, you cannot teach something you haven't done yourself, period. That's my a firm belief of mine. And in order for me to be a posing coach, I wanted to make sure that I had experience in that category, win that category, and share how to present yourself and the nuances. Because as you can see, every single category, you're going to come out differently in bikini than in glamour, than in physique. Every single category is very unique, and you have to, it's almost like you're a new character every time. And it's and I I love that part. I love the posing and the presentation part of it so much. So maybe we have, perhaps you've seen all these categories, and like I said, after looking at this, there's maybe one or two categories that are kind of are bubbling something up inside you, thinking, could I? And so what I would love for you to do is, if you want to learn more, simply put hashtag bikini bod in the comment box below, and I will reach out to you. I'd love to send you an informational video. I would love to, maybe even if you're really serious, to have a chat to learn and understand, because we normally take 9 months to a year to get ready for a category. And of course, it depends on how much body fat you need to release. It depends on, where you're currently with your fitness level. What category are you competing in? And there are a variety of shows in Canada and in the US. And so if this has sparked your interest and you can see yourself like Coach Janae flaunting those wings, or you would love to experience that, put hashtag bikini bod down below. And if you are listening to the podcast, my email is down there, and in the subject line, put bikini bod, and let me know, and I'll send you that info video. We'll connect, and perhaps you might be a part of R3 Team 2024, because we're recruiting now. So Coach Janae, I'd love for you to just take us home and wrap us up with, any advice for, because you were there, you were like, could I do it? What is the benefit of being a part of a team, and being a part of working with a coach that has experience on that stage, and yeah, it may seem scary, but why not? What would you say to her?
First, because, and if anyone has heard my story before, that at one point in my 20s, I had thought about doing it and I didn't. And so if you have that feeling right now, we're like, well, it would be kind of nice. Don't wait for 20 years to pass and you're thinking about, man, I should have done it. I should have, right? I should have just tried to see, right? Like I should have just followed through. Don't wait to regret it, right? Like, just, if you have that little feeling, and at the very least, train like you're gonna, right? Like there's so much benefit in that. You learn so much, not just about, fitness and nutrition and what you can do with your body, but you learn a lot about yourself personally and what you're capable of doing and pushing through, right? So I challenge you to say, like, you'll surprise yourself, right? When you know you got to be on stage in an itty bitty tiny little bikini, you'll be surprised with what you can do, right? So the benefit of being part of a team and having an experienced coach are twofold. One, for yourself, but also for the team as well. So yourself, certainly, we've said it before, coaches need coaches, right? Even if you know everything there is to know about fitness and nutrition and you're like, I know everything, I don't need any coaching, it really helps to have an outside set of eyes, right, to give you an unbiased opinion or guidance and support in what you need to change and do. So things at this level happen so quickly, week over week. You need that extra set of eyes, that the eyes that are looking at you from outside, right? To really hone in and give you that guidance and tweak those small little changes. There are certain things that we're just naturally going to be blind to because it's ourselves, good or bad. We're either like highly critical or we miss the obvious, right? So you need to have an experienced coach that will be able to give you that guidance and help support that change. But also, they know what you're going through, right? So if you're like, oh man, I have carb brain right now, they know what you're talking about. They know, right? Like, so that's very important. But the team part of it is we talk about loving getting on stage and loving the day, like the presentation and the posing, but that whole entire day is all about the team, right? What is happening backstage, behind stage, the friendships that are developing, that sense of, like it's all like-minded women. We're all there trying to do the same thing. And you'd be surprised, like how incredibly supportive everyone. Oh, your bikini's falling apart. Like some random stranger is going to help glue something together for you, right? Like, it is a great thing to be involved in and to know that not everyone does this, right? Not everyone can do this. And that you had the mental toughness to do that. And all these women around you are doing the same thing. Like that's a great feeling, that the day of, but also the support that you get until you get to that day of, right? Like everything from now until that day, you have a team that are, sometimes in our Facebook group, I'm sharing my dreams. I had a dream about eating peanut butter and we all laugh and we post like funny memes about like doing, workouts with our coach, and we're all doing random things when she's told us to do jump squats. And like, it's that sense of being part of a team, right? Like you're not alone, you're experiencing the pains together, but you're experiencing the triumphs together as well. So that really creates some very significant bonds that are life lasting, right? So the coach, having the experienced coach and having a team, like those are relationships that you develop and learn from for the rest of your life.
I love it. And it's one of those experiences where there is a chance you'll get hooked and you might want to do it again. But I've said this before and I'll say it again, more than the stage, it's who you become along the way. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what Coach Janae was speaking to, in that you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about, your limits and pushing past those limits. And then stepping on that stage, more than just, like, it doesn't even matter who's beside you, that sense of accomplishment where like, I did this. Yeah. I did this. There is nothing more fulfilling. And that's why when I did it 4 years ago, myself, I said, I need other women over 40 to feel this. Mm-hmm. And since then, Coach Janae is one of my very first athletes. I absolutely love, I love competing, but I love watching my athletes transform. And when they step out onto that stage, I become that stage mama who loses her voice. And it is awesome to witness. It really is. So if you are looking to take your fitness to the next level, and maybe the transformation category, like I said, just to dip your toe and just experience it. What would it be like? Maybe we've sparked that little interest inside you. Then reach out, put Bikini Bod down below. I'll send you that video. We'll connect and have a chat, because now's the time to start for next year.
Yes.
Now's the time,
exactly.
Right? So, Coach Janae, thank you so much
for
helping me explain the divisions. I think it's really important because we're sharing our journey, and a lot of women might not even be aware of all of these divisions and what is included. And so next week, I think because we've talked a little bit today about the muscularity, about the different packages that you have to bring onto the stage, I'd like to talk about the training part. Yeah. I'd like to talk about periodization. I'd like to talk about, and even for women over 40, why it's important to strength train. That's going to be our main topic, why it's important to strength train, especially for women over 40. And if you're going through that, menopause transition, it's so integral to do strength training. And we'll talk about, the best kind of formula, what to expect, if you are on the R3 team, what does that look like? Why do you need to take a 9 months to a year? And just the benefits of training, period, especially going through menopause transition. So that's going to be a good topic next week. Now, we're going to have a different time because we're running our 5-day challenge at 8 o'clock every night. So what I think we can do, Coach Janae, is maybe we can go live on, what do you think, Friday or this Saturday? Maybe, well, let's see. Friday afternoon, if we did earlier, like most people are clocking out at 4 o'clock. we can go live at Friday at 4. And then that way, for those of you that are participating in the 5-day challenge, we go live again at 8 o'clock in the evening. So, because normally we're live now, like Thursdays at 8. So why don't we say that? That will be a unique time for next week. We'll go live Friday at 4 o'clock, and then we'll go back to our regular time the following week. So
perfect.
Lots of good stuff. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's a conversation. I'm not saying you would be, the best fit for the R3 team, but why not find out more? Why not find out more, right? So thank you so much, Coach Janae, for helping me kind of go through the weeds of what the fitness competition world looks like. And who knows, maybe we might be recruiting some R3 Team 2024 ladies.
Looking forward to it.
All right, girls, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the Get Crystallized Show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.